welcome to my studio. I am going to be doing a still life demo in oils this afternoon. I've got a paint pot and a tube of paint as my subject. Here's my painting box. Got a warm light on the subject and going to be filming the whole process on the GoPro. And here are the paints that I'll be using. Got titanium white, cadmium yellow, yellow ochre, cadmium red, burnt umber and ultramarine blue. Let's get going. Okay, so here we go. I'm just going to do a demo in the same way that I would when I go to art clubs, art societies. I go to many of these over the course of a year, and I do demonstrations in kind of still life setups, portraits, landscapes, pretty much always with oil paints, but I also do liquid charcoal demonstrations as well. And yeah, I'll just try to talk through what I'm doing, but we'll just keep the video recording. And I've taken a picture of the setup. Hopefully that will be overlaid somewhere on the screen so you can see what's going on, but you should be able to see my palette here, mixing the colours and then the surface that I'm painting on. So quite a simple subject in some ways, just a couple of objects. I've got my painting pot that I put my liquid in, my solvent I should say, and I'm just going to begin by plotting very loosely where that may sit in the composition. Straight away I can then make kind of decisions about where the tube of paint might sit. And we've got this lovely shadow in the background. That's going to be, I've set the pot slightly to the left. We've got a square surface here. It's MDF board that's had a painting on it already, and then I've painted over it. So it's a nice smooth surface. So yeah, square board. I wanted to get this lovely shadow. I've got a warm light. I'm getting a lovely cool blue shadow, cast shadow from this pot. So let's get that horizon line in. I say horizon line, it's set up in a kind of a shelving unit here. It's got the white wall behind, and this black shelving unit's got a little bit of a shine to it. We're getting a lovely reflection from the pot, so that will be fun to paint later on. So yeah, just plotting very loosely using thinned down burnt umber. I'm thinning down the paint, the oil paint, with my solvent. My solvent is kind of a recycled combination of probably Sensador Zest-It oil that has been cleaned off my brushes over time, because I just keep recycling the solvent, so I couldn't tell you exactly what's in there, but I tend to buy Zest-It or Sensador low odour solvents, which is great for being in the studio, and also when I'm out doing demos at art clubs and things. It's always pretty handy. I think most of them are low solvent these days on the market. I don't know. I tend to get that strong smell that you used to when you go into art studios and there's lots of painters. Okay. Let's sit just over to the right here. So both these objects have got some really good shines, reflections on. They're going to be the last things that I paint, but already looking forward to putting those on. They're the things that are going to make this painting pop. Let's get a bit more solvent, get that paint moving a little bit more. go. The scale of that, how's the scale of that feel? That needs to be coming down here, and if that's down there, then that's a little bit small. I think this tube of paint is going to end up heading out the side of this square. Might just shift everything a little bit to the left if I'm working on that scale. I like to begin the painting sketching in paint, and this is one of the reasons why. It's very forgivable oil paint, and I can in no time at all start making judgments on my drawing, composition in this case as well, and decide that no, I need to move everything if I want to get that paint tube in, which I do, because there's just a nice little highlight just over here, so it's much further to the left of the pot than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. So that's going to sit, that's better. That's going to be more like that. I could have had it bleeding out of the edge, but it's just a lovely little bit of light that's going to appear here later on. That's going to give me some nice reflections that are all kind of bouncing off each other, working around the image. Hopefully make it interesting. Got, like I say, a reflective surface in that, and this is a set of storage unit. So we're going to have some lovely reflections down here, and then the warm light. It's a white wall in the background, but it's very warm in there. Let's tidy up some of that so it's a bit easier to see. So I'll just use a brush with some, and clean that brush very well from my last time I used it. Let's try this one. Get rid of that line in there as well, just makes it a little bit easier to read. So that's going to be more like there, and let's tidy that up a little bit. And we can also use a little bit of kitchen roll. I've got some kitchen roll just out of shot down here. That's where I'm cleaning my brushes, wiping my brush after I've used it. I want to change the colour or just get some of the paint off. Okay, very loosely sketched. But I've got the objects where I want them now. So I think from here I'm going to do some blocking in, and I'm going to block in. I'm going to start with some of the dark shapes, but yeah, let's get some of the darkest darks in first, because some of those are quite large. If they'd been really small, I might have been tempted to go with this lovely blue shadow over here, but let's get some of these darkest darks, because all the way down here I'm going to be a bit thicker with the paint there, less solvent, diluting it, some on the surface, so that's happening anyway, but let's get that on. I don't mind it being too thin, just don't want it being too thinned down, the paint, because it's nice that it's thin. I can paint over it easily later on. And we've also got this shape here. This is part of the clip mechanism that's keeping the lid on the pot. And then just over here as well, we've got a dark rectangle. Just try to reduce everything into very simple shapes and blocks of tone and colour, really, at the same time. You're working simultaneously. but I am starting with the darkest shapes, and this is kind of a black. I've mixed the ultramarine blue and the burnt umber to create this colour. We've got round the lid, so okay, so I can see that lid actually, yeah, that paint tube, and you start looking at just the darks, you realise that it comes all the way up here, and then we've got the shadow underneath, and we're heading off this direction. If I've got the angle quite right, where does that interact? Kind of reaches level with the bottom of that tube, so about here, so that's okay, that's heading in the right direction. Let's get a bit more paint there, and then as the tube kind of heads up this way, the shadow of the tube, is it shadow, is it reflection? It's a bit of both really. A bit cooler shadow than what I had it, so I add a little bit more of the blue. That kind of sits under there, like so. So it's already hopefully describing that tube just hovering at this point above the surface, whereas it's touching here. And then it's very dark kind of underbelly there, and as it creeps around as well, this is all the tube now, and then it's just got that kind of tail shape, a bit like a tail just there. It's very loose, hopefully not committing too much detail. I can start to assess very quickly how accurate I'm being with the drawing just by blocking in these darkest shapes. It's easier for me to judge the distance between that, and I'm blocking them in as large areas, and that's kind of creeping in the lid, kind of creeps around here. There's a bit more of this tone and colour kind of here in the lid, and a little bit here, smaller shapes, it's quite thin there. And got that on there, just okay. That's some of the darkest darks now. That was very thin, that paint there. Let's get that. And there we've got this shadow actually coming across. So we've got the handle to the pot. This is the shadow. Falls on the pot, and then I'll do the detail of that later. Okay, now I want to block in. That horizon line comes a lot higher than I had it before, so it's actually coming through here. Not looking properly before, but that's okay. I haven't committed any detail, any real amount of time at this point, so it's the time to get it right. And that just continues straight through there. That's actually a bit nicer, it's not splitting the composition through the middle. So this is very dark over here. This is the surface of the cubby hole. Let's go with a bigger brush, a bit more paint, been a bit stingy. Let's get that on. Really smooth surface, don't know if you can see that. So actually trying to get the paint to grip on there. Struggling a little bit, but it's okay. I do like a smooth surface to paint on. I think it's because this is an old painting that's been painted over. This feels quite shiny, quite smooth. Okay, let's get that in. Let's just have a look. That's the darkest point of the surface, the shelf. And we move into this lovely blue shadow up here. So a bit more ultramarine blue. I'm going to introduce a little bit of titanium white to this. It's cool, but it's not that blue. So let's add a little bit more brown in there. Something like, yeah, that's pretty close. Lovely colour. Love that colour. What's going on there? Molting. And actually, it's much higher. It's been cast by the light source is heading here, and it's actually up here. Need a bit more paint. It kind of comes here. It's a really soft edge, which I'll be able to do. So get this colour in. It comes down and it meets, and then that's that back wall. Just a bit more paint. It's a bit darker actually in places, a bit through here, and then gets lighter as it gets softer. Okay. I feel like I want to block in the rest of this surface and the background before I work on the subjects. Yeah, this is very light back here. It's not going to be the lightest area, but it's quite light. It's near the lighter part of the whole composition. So let's use this big brush again. I'm going to clean off that paint. In fact, I'm going to grab another one in the interest of speed. Got about a million brushes, I may as well use them. Let's use this bigger brush. So I've got a kitchen roll. I use the solvent to clean the brush. I wipe it on the kitchen roll first, try to get as much pigment off. Then I use the solvent, I use the kitchen roll again. I've got a towel here, so you can try and clean the brush up. But this is a new clean brush. I'm just going to use the palette knife to mix up that background colour. So yellow ochre, titanium white, and probably a little bit of cadmium red, just a tiny little bit. Don't need much. Maybe a bit more than that. And I'm really pushing the colours together. Don't want any marbling effect where I can look at that mix and determine. I don't want anyone to be able to see what colours have been used to mix that necessarily. You need to really push them together, creating a new colour. A little bit more of the red. A lot of this colour appears also, but a darker tone of this appears in the paint pot, so that's handy. I shall have this on my palette, I'll be able to use it later. Let's see how that's coming together. try that. I'm going to try it on the painting to really know how successful I've been. Yeah, no, I'm pleased with that. Just a touch more red maybe. Yeah, I'll go with that. Right, I can use the bigger brush, load it up and get this on the surface. Gets a little bit warmer over here. The light source is making this much lighter on this side, so let's, oops, oh, moved it, got away with it, just hit the light. It's the thing with the still life setup, can't move, and actually generally it's not going to. If somebody walks into your setup when you're at a demo or kick the light over or whatever, and it's going to change things, but generally it's pretty easy to keep things as they should be. It's one of the advantages actually of still life, and you can, you know, I've set the lighting up here, I've pulled the blinds in my studio, it's daytime, pulled the blinds in my studio, I've put a daylight lamp behind me to light up my painting surface, to light up my palette, and then, like I say, this warm lamp, warm light close to the subjects, so it's all kind of pretty highly controlled, which is really nice to be able to do that. I do a lot of plein air painting, and obviously it's completely different. You're working with the elements and the light that kind of is there present at that particular time, that wherever you are, and it's very changeable. Just time, even if the weather didn't change in a set period, just the sun moving over 2-3 hours obviously makes everything look different. Only time really is a really overcast grey day. In the middle of the day you kind of get quite good consistent light, but anyway, just switch to a smaller brush just to get into these smaller areas and get the paint in there. Like I say, we've got a soft edge, so I'm just going to mix something in between that shadow and the light, colour wise. Let's get something a bit darker. Grab some of the, I should be using a palette knife to grab all these paints. It's not doing myself any favours for mixing pure colours, but it's an interest of speed really. So you've mixed kind of a tone and colour between here and here, and I'm just putting that down between that area of shade and the area of light to give myself a soft line, a soft edge, sorry. And then I can just go back in here. Achieve a similar thing with the side of the brush, and a bit more paint, a bit more of that dark light, dark tone, shadow along there. Anyway, something like that. This feels a bit dark now. and knock it back a little bit. A bit more white, a bit more blue. Squint my eyes to have a look, especially at this side. More like that. Sometimes you just need to get paint down. You need to get a light tone or a dark tone just to be able to really judge the tone, because it's about the relationships between those tones can affect how light or dark something looks. Okay. Let's get the rest of this blocked in now. It's a black surface, but it's really catching that warm light. Trying to work out what colour that is. Yellow ochre, something like that. That's okay. I'm going to put that down. It's yellow ochre, a little bit of cadmium red, some of the burnt umber. Not 100% convinced yet, but we'll get it down, get it blocked in. We're going to start working on the subjects. Might be tweaking this, but we'll see. Yeah, no, I think it's okay actually. Let's use that brush. I have to clean my palette sooner rather than later. Oh, what's that? What am I doing? I think I was just hoping I had the right colour on the brush then. Take my time, get a bit distracted with trying to talk through what I'm doing. It's the first of these videos I've done. Hopefully do more, see how it goes. That's all going to have reflection. That comes around here, a bit more yellow ochre, a bit lighter. All the way up here, catching the light on that side. I love this big brush. Really load it up with paint. It holds a lot of paint. There's some of this through there, but this is going to have reflections. Okay, that's kind of blocked in all the background. Look at this again, this area, but for now I'm going to let's have a look at the tube, paint tube down here. Right, what we got? Work on that lid. There's actually a lot of similar colours in both subjects, this tube of paint and this pot, and then the background as well. It's almost, could almost have got away with 3 colours. Just using the cadmium red at the moment. I haven't used, I have only used 5 colours, 4 if you don't count the white so far. Just getting the paint down really. I'm getting it down. I want to try and cover the surface sooner rather than later, and then I'll work into it. So this is still kind of blocking in really at this stage. Nice blue going through the middle of the tube there. Again, probably similar to this really. When I squint my eyes and look at them, they are similar in colour and tone even. Should have probably spotted that earlier. Could have just used it when it was already on my brush. This lid feels a bit big, but I'll go with it for now. I've got that blue shadow creeping in just around here. Really reading how I'd like yet, but I keep trusting that if I get, that helped straight away actually, just trust that get the right or close to the right tones in close to the right place, tone and colour. But I do think tone is the most important thing, especially when doing a still life. You're trying to create the illusion of a 3-dimensional subject. Yeah, that lid's too big. So clean my brush very well then. And then I can see this round part of the paint tube coming all the way around here, so I need to get that in and around here. So there. And then let's use colour of the surface to just correct that a little bit. Okay. Something like that. Just using this for silicone tipped tool just to kind of draw into the paint a little bit. That needs to come around there. That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, it's more like there. And then that all comes right out here. That's it, right out there. Scrape some of that off. Got a bit messy, not great with the drawing. Might come back to that area later, but I was just scraping some of that thick paint off, and then makes it much easier to get that reflection back in there. That's better. That's better. While I'm down in that area and I've got some of this colour on my, just get that transition from that dark shadow under the paint tube through to the lighter part of that surface, something like that. Okay, it's starting to work a bit better around there. That'll do for now with the blocking in. I'm going to block in some of this. So this is a silver reflective object, but there's, you know, bits of old paint that have dribbled down the edge, different colours, and then dried, and they've got a bit of a matte feel to them. So there's a bit going on. It's just all shapes and colours and tones really, so just concentrate on that. So we've got that nice dark, part of the paint tube under here, and assessing that again, that remains. So I'm just going to thicken that up a little bit, just some slightly thicker paint just to re-establish that. That was the very first thing I blocked in. And then see if it appears anywhere else, or anything close to it, which it does here and here, around there. just kind of the next tone up really. They're not quite as dark, but still dark areas that I'm just searching for. And if I see them, I'm just putting them in. I've got this kind of almost, it's a mixture of a few colours now, but I'm just warming it up a little bit with some red, and also there's some ultramarine blue in there. It's kind of got this almost purpley mauvey feel to it. That just creeps out there. And then we've got some dark areas through here as well. Let's bring those back in. Down the edge. So we've got a real contrast between the edge of that object. Down there. And this surface over there. Let's get that. Yeah, this is much lighter, this object, than this. So that's what I'm noticing and blocking in. The vast majority of this. It's greeny looking in places. Some of that blue and that yellow ochre working together, just kind of through here. There's all this mechanism catching the light and different shade and light all around there, which helps describe what's going on there, which I will take a look at once I've got this general shape pot blocked in. Start putting those sharper areas of light in, it will really help make sense of some of these much looser, larger. It's starting to come together shape wise. While I'm noticing it as well, let's just bring in the reflections much darker than that. Much darker. Okay, that is pretty much blocked in now, the whole surface. One more thing I want to do, and then I'm going to take a little coffee break and then come back to this with fresh eyes and see what's going on, and hopefully resolve some kind of finish to, yeah, just wanted to soften that up a little bit. And I'll look at this again later. Okay, I'm about halfway through the painting, I think. I've got to wind this up in the next hour or so, or just under an hour, because I've got to go and pick the kids up from school. So that's quite nice to have a little time limit, and I'll just get to where I get to and we'll go from there. I have had a nice little coffee break, and now I'm going to try and complete this painting in less than an hour because I've got the school run. Gotta go and pick my kids up and don't want to be late, but it's quite nice to have a time limit sometimes. Whenever I'm doing demos for art clubs, you've got to be done in that time. Try and get it to the paintings to a place where I've demonstrated everything from start to finish. I suppose this is going to be a similar idea. We'll see how much I like it at the end, but it will be finished to a degree. So the whole painting is covered, so it's fully blocked in. I already scraped some of the painting back here where it was getting a bit thick, and I'm going to do the same down here, but also it's not just scraping the paint off. I don't do this every time I paint, but for this particular subject it's going to work well, I think, where I use an old credit card and just take back some of the thick paint. Still got a lot of stuff to do over the top of this, and it's also just bringing the paint together quite nicely in a bit of an unpredictable way. It's creating a bit of texture, which that painting pot is full of. And also down here. Like I said, I don't do this every time I paint, but I always have it with me just in case. But I do think it will lend itself nicely. Just want to bring that together still. Soften that edge a little bit still. Yeah, I'm going to go a bit over the top with that, so I'm going to put it down now. Go back to my brushes and probably not going to talk loads on this half. I'll carry on talking, but I'll see, I don't know what I'm going to be keeping in and what I'll be getting rid of in the edit, but maybe I'll speed up some of the tape. You'll see if you're still watching whether I've done that or not. It's really nice to have everything blocked in and just be able to start going in and just refining certain areas with a smaller brush. I'm always checking the drawing throughout the whole process, so I put those initial quite simple basic guidelines down to begin with. The drawing just continues to develop throughout the whole process. So it's never really a case of just filling in, colouring in the lines. So the nature of oil paint allows you to just push it around and change things. It means you can put it down in quite a bold way. Nothing's set in stone, which is one of the things I love about the medium. Just that forgiving nature. Just starting to emerge a little bit now, this paint tube. Need some more paint. Starting to put some of those lighter areas in as well. Kind of feel like I'm going to resolve this tube before I move on to the paint pot. Bit of colour in there, it's just spotted. Oh, and we've got the reflection coming down, mustn't forget that. Does it line up? Yeah. It does. I tend not to talk as much in the second half of demos when I'm at clubs as I do in the first half. I've noticed recently, I think it's because I'm really starting to concentrate. I've covered a lot of kind of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it already. Obviously I'll have questions often when I'm painting, and that helps me describe what's going on, but basically I'm just working my way around all those areas that I've blocked in and just refining. It's a lovely bit of light along here. I might have to get that in before I move on, but let's just get that. It's quite a full tube of paint, this, so it's quite consistently quite consistent thickness. I've painted tubes before that are almost empty and, you know, going all over the place. It's quite nice, this nice thick. So just turn the brush on its side to get a nice thick shape. Right. It's a lovely bit of light just catching along here. On the label. Okay, I'm going to move into this object now. Before I do that though, just spotted where reflects dark. Really dark under there. Let's get that in. Really dark there. Just places the object back down on the surface through there. Along there. I lost some of that. So I mean, just always checking the. Yeah, it feels like it's just weighted a little bit more, and then that lid. Okay. Right, what's going on in here? To warm it up a little bit around here. This is area of paint. That's nice. Warm area of paint that's kind of sploshed along. Been caught at some point down the side of the, so it's really matte. Won't catch any light. We've got a few areas where that's appearing around here as well. More of that ochre through here. Blues, silvery blues appearing down here. A bit lighter than that, a bit bluer than that. Definitely through there as well. Just starting to read a bit better now. Okay, I need to re-establish some of the darks, like around here. Be careful with the drawing while I do it. Definitely around here. And kind of through here. One of those very first areas through there. And that lip of that lid just there. Definitely need to get that, bring that back. Nice solid bit of dark tone through there and there. And definitely where it's bring that curve back in, the pot to there, and underneath, so that reflects. And then it's soft. Okay, some of these details, the dark areas. Let's go. Oh, a bit of white paint on there. That's annoying. That's okay though. I've got this clip mechanism, so kind of sticks out there, and then bends around, comes down. Something like that. And then swoops around. Like so. Got something going on in there. And we've got something going on down there. And then this side again. kind of come out here. We swoop down at this angle, and then that joins kind of at that angle like so. We lose it all in there, it's just all light. We've got something going on there, something going on through there. That's then very dark under there. That's very dark, but a little bit warmer through there. And actually that continues down through there. Getting close to wanting to put the real highlights in there. Just going to use a soft brush just to soften this shadow through here still. And I just want to re-establish as well that line through there. And I use the ruler. Like that. And how are we doing? Okay, some of the highlights through here then. Some of those blues, first of all, right through here, a bit more paint, kind of picks up. Let's make all of this lighter. Nice thick paint now. Some real blues out the back section there, but not as light, but something like that. And that is then also just catching around there. Just all sorts of colours appearing in here now that I'm seeing. And there. Oh yeah, and there as well. A light right out here, but then because it's then against the dark background, the light background, it becomes very dark again, just there. Does that appear anywhere else? Okay. Okay. That silvery blue highlight. Let's get that. That's through there. I'm just going to pick it up through there, a bit softer. What have we got going on in there? That's catching the warm light all in there, top of the lid. I'm saying in there and here, what's going on there, as if you know what I'm talking about or looking at. I'm talking about in here. I'm looking at what colour and how light is it catching the light inside this lid, and it's something like that. And then there's a little dark tone, which I guess again is a bit of a lip. It's not as dark as that, and it's warm. It's kind of something like that. We've got that plate of metal that the handle is coming off, and that's catching a warmy yellow ochre colour through here, quite light, something like that. That is also appearing over here, there, not quite as bright as that, up to about there. And then that lovely colour I've just used is also appearing on that handle there. And in places there and there. Let's get the handle in. That's dark. Let's get that in. It comes all the way from there to there. And it swoops round. There, out of view. Cast shadow of that. Exists through there. And then let's find some real light highlights. This could be the finishing touches. Like so. Always an enjoyable part to paint. Nice thick paint. Lovely little highlight down here as well, just thin. Just tweaking some areas of the background as well. I want a bit of consistency with the mark making, and also that was just a large kind of flat area, and it's darker in the back there. A bit tricky when you're just done. In fact, I'm going to just get rid of that handle. Let's get rid of that because I wasn't 100% happy with the shape of it anyway. So I can repaint that in a second. Let's just bring that in. How's this looking over here? So it's just about getting a bit of consistency of mark making now because of the way that I've kind of applied the paint elsewhere. I want it to look like the same painting done at the same time, and I think this will just help achieve that. yeah, that handle. Let's get that handle back in. I think that's about it. Maybe just one or two. Let's get that brush really clean. Lots of thick paint here, and it's just a couple of areas. Okay. I think I'll call that a day. So that's it. That's the oil painting demonstration, Alla Prima study. There it is. I'll photograph it and include that in the edit, and I'm sure you'll see it in all the usual places as well. Thanks for watching. I shall hopefully be doing more of these soon. Okay, bye bye.